Hi. If you are somebody who does get anxious, and you're getting all those kind of uncomfortable sensations, the first thing to think about is that that means that your autonomic nervous system is working, that it's doing what it's meant to do, so that there's a perceived threat, and all the things that are meant to happen in your body actually begin to happen. So that's one thing. It's quite helpful, I think, when somebody comes to fix their anxiety or wants rid of their anxiety, to actually be able to begin to befriend it by just saying, right, I understand that you're here for a reason, but I'm not sure that it's necessary right now. So you can begin to start talking to yourself in the street or in the queue at Sainsbury's or whatever. I think that's also quite a useful thing to be able to do, because that actually just gives it permission to sort of take a back seat a bit. Anyhow, the other thing is, do you know what kind of anxiety you have? Because there's all sorts of different types of anxiety. There's a kind of generalized worrying, which just seems to be on a low simmer all the time. You worry about everything, sort of finances, um, just the small stuff that are things that you might have managed all your life, but now you get sort of wound up about it. So yeah, so everyday stuff like your health is obviously something that, as we get older, we become a bit more concerned about the creaks and cracks that are happening. So and there might be other things that are, you have got underlying health issues which are worthy of being anxious. But if you understand what your anxiety is, that's helpful. So there's generalized anxiety, social anxiety. Do you get concerned about going into social situations? And social anxiety is really often about feeling that you might be judged, or you might not have a good enough excuse not to be there if you want to leave early, or there are lots of different ways that our anxiety manifests, and is, again, in other videos I've said, everything is a message, so paying attention to whatever the messages are. So we've got generalized anxiety, we've got social anxiety. We've also got situational anxiety. So you might have a very specific situation, maybe at work or in a particular friend group or in the family, in which your anxiety kind of goes off the scale. So if we understand that there are different types of anxiety, then we can address those things differently, because they're arising for different reasons. There's lots of others, like panic disorder, anxiety and panic disorder. That is when your kind of a low level of anxiety begins to be amplified, and it amplifies in such a way that the body really does want fight, flight, or freeze. It's kind of doing that taxiing thing that I mentioned elsewhere. So panic disorder. If we understand it, knowledge is power, and self-knowledge is self-empowerment. So if you understand what's going on for you, which whether or not you can actually identify what the anxiety is, then it could be really helpful in the what happens next version of that. um Phobias, separation anxiety, agoraphobia, OCD, all that kind of stuff, those are all again messages um from your unconscious, and from your autonomic nervous system. So pay attention to those wherever you can. If you are anxious, if you can find pockets of joy in which you can actually find yourself in the other bit of that autonomic nervous system, so you're in the parasympathetic rather than the fight, flight, or freeze. If you spend time in there, then it's like going to the psychological gym. It actually begins to overpower the other bits. So it's harder to be in the sympathetic nervous system if you've got lots of mindfulness, lots of rest, lots of restoration happening. If you do those things, that's really helpful. I don't know whether this is useful to anybody or not, but if it is, let me know in the comments.